there. Right now, we're talking about Trey Lance.
Okay.
Kind of along the lines that you and I talked about earlier in the week, and
Mhm.
perfect segue for you to join us. I
Mhm.
know you asked me earlier in the week as far as what the outlook was going to be, and I got a little bit of insight on what your take was. But
Mhm.
I just want to go on record and ask you. So, ideally, what do you see playing out this offseason? You told me earlier on Monday on your show you probably see Purdy.
Mhm.
But I wanted to ask you in front of the guy so we can get some dialogue going. Are
Okay.
you a guy or are you a Purdy guy or are you on the fence guy?
So, like I said to you on the show, is I'm a whoever can get the San Francisco 49ers win guy. So, whoever can
Nice.
get me wins, I'll take. But however, look, if Purdy is healthy, and I said this to you, Ron, and I'll say it again, if Purdy is healthy, that means all the team doctors, independent doctors that they went to said he's 100%. He is ready to go. He is fine, no limitations. Um, I'm a Purdy guy, and I'm a Purdy guy. Why? Because I have physical proof that he can win football games consistently. He can win high pressure football games. Case in point, he won two big playoff games. He can run the offense the way Shanahan wants it to be done. If he is not ready, and I'm starting to think more and more that he might miss maybe the first 4 games. He might go, what's that, the pup list? If he gets on the pup list, you got to miss the first 4 weeks, right?
Yep.
So I'm assuming that might be the route. And then to me, it's like, all right, this is do or die time for Trey Lance. Because if Trey Lance is performing very well in those first 4 games, we all know darn well that Shanahan's not going to bench his starting quarterback just because Purdy's healthy. It's not going to work that way. So to go back to your original question, I'm whoever Kyle Shanahan deems as the number one viable starter on this football team. That's who I'm going to support.
Gotcha. The other thing we're talking about, Chris, as well, just to bring you back and loop it back around. I know we've lost some players in free agency. We went over a list of folks that we've lost. We lost Jimmy Ward.
Mhm.
We lost Amanda Hugh. Is there anybody that we lost in free agency that you've kind of that shocked you, or someone that you kind of wished didn't leave, or you were hoping to get back? We lost Mosley to the Lions as well.
Yeah. The only guy that maybe I wish we would have kept would have been Jimmy Ward. I would have liked to have really seen him come back another year. I thought he played. I think he always, for the most part, played pretty well. I know he's gotten a bad rap over the years on different occasions, but man, I really would have liked to have seen him play one more season in San Fran. Because I think that the production would have been there. He's a leader on that back end. Um, I'm a guy also with the trenches. I don't want to pay. I didn't expect the Niners to play McGlinchey what he got paid, but I'm a guy that likes to protect the quarterback at all costs, especially on a franchise who just continuously gets injured quarterbacks.
Right.
So, um, anytime you lose an offensive lineman who's a consistent starter, that's that hurts me a little bit, because when you lose an offensive lineman like a starter like McGlinchey, you got to go out and buy. You got to go out and pay for one. You got to go buy another one. Sometimes I like paying for these guys to keep them in house. They know the system. They have the rapport with the players. So it's just a thing where I like keeping offensive linemen around for a while as long as they're producing. But man, he got the bag, man. So that would have been really difficult for the Niners to bring that back in here.
Yeah, I agree. So we got about 10, 12 million in cap space left. There's rumors, there's rumbles that there's probably another move to be made here
Mhm.
shortly. I know I told you on Monday we'd probably get something worked out. They signed Oliver. I wasn't wrong, but it probably wasn't the position that I was alluding to. I personally think Mike indicated earlier, edge is probably priority. Where do you see a priority with the money that's left so far?
Definitely an edge rusher. They need that edge. Getting Hargrave was massive. A spectacular move. And again, like I said to you, I live in Jersey, so I live 15 minutes out of Philly. So Niners games start at 4 o'clock normally where I live. So that means all the 1 o'clock games I live where the Eagles have that. I have the Eagles feed. So I got to watch the Eagles games, and just watching Hargrave just be an absolute machine up the middle, just terrorizing offensive lines. He's just, gosh, he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, which he's proven to be, he's going to be such a popular player on that defense. But yeah, you need an edge rusher. They need somebody to get to the freaking quarterback that's not named Nick Bosa. They really need that so bad. So yeah, I would say edge rusher.
I agree. I agree, man. We're gonna bounce around the league here real quick. Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure you know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. We were talking, a little bit about just the distraction he's become, the irony in him, almost taking the same steps that Favre took. What are your thoughts with Aaron? You see, obviously, he's probably going to end up in New York. What's your take on what's going on with Aaron now, and just overall Aaron as a player since he started?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
All right.
So all these questions are towards you.
um, so if anyone follows me on Twitter at ChrisTFan3, you might quickly find out that I am not too fond of Mr. Aaron Rodgers. I am not a fan of the guy at all. I'm not a fan of him as a man or a teammate.
Well, Mike, I guess you just found a new best friend, buddy.
I know, right?
I
think your rant's going to be similar to mine.
For a guy that really hasn't won anything since 2011, I mean, he really views himself as above football, above team. He's I can't believe how he treats himself and how teams allow it. Like, after seeing what Brett Favre did back in the day, what a nightmare that was. And and then you go, even sometimes how Tom Brady handled certain things in the off seasons. Tom never handled it like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's basically, before even being a Jet, he's playing the dictator role. Whereas, look, I'll come to you. Here's my list of players that I want. Green Bay didn't give me a bunch of weapons, but I'll come to the Jets and just make sure you get all of the Green Bay weapons that I didn't like in Green Bay. So, like, let me bring those guys here. I'm not a fan of him. Whenever the Niners played him, I was never scared. I was never worried about losing to Aaron Rodgers. I know he's a great quarterback. I get it. He doesn't turn the ball over, all that stuff, but I don't look at him as a big game quarterback anymore. And maybe that's just me. I'm bitter about the guy, but you'll rarely hear me say a good word about Aaron Rodgers.
So I wanted to ask you as well, Chris. I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but
it's all good, man.
I respect your takes.
Oof.
Last week we were talking a little bit about we talked a lot. We were always talking QBs on this show with the guys. We're talking about the QB market. Mm-hmm. And how these salaries, in my opinion, are just getting out of control, it seems like. I'm curious to know what your take is with the QB market, one, when it comes to availability and performance. Mm-hmm. And is that translating to what these guys are getting paid? I don't want to steer you into an answer, but that's kind of like the plot there. What's your take on as far as the trend and the direction these guys are asking for as far as guaranteed salaries? I know you gave me your take on Aaron, but overall as a market, you think it's broken? You're all right with these guys getting paid that much money? What's your opinion?
So as a football fan, I always want the players to make all the money that they can in the NFL. One, so the owners don't get it. And two, the average NFL player lasts about 3 years. So I want them to get as much money as humanly possible. However, with that being said, to me, the quarterback money market officially broke to me when Daniel Jones cashed in on $40 million a season. Like, that's where I kind of draw the line in terms of, quarterback's the prime position in pro sports. They got to get paid the most money. I don't necessarily believe that. I understand the best ability is availability. So if you have a quarterback who doesn't miss games, it's very important. But my goodness, I mean, the Deshaun Watson deal really hurts the NFL because now you got guys like Lamar Jackson, who, is a really good human being by all accounts, former MVP, all pro, wants to get paid fully guaranteed money. And look, all the power to him. I mean, he's got a great case in terms of, look, if you're going to pay, a trash can of a human and Deshaun Watson total $250 million guaranteed, well, then why can't I get that? And if that's the case, if he does get that, what's Joe Burrow going to get? If Daniel Jones is making $40 million, what in the world is the starting number going to be for Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia? It's getting to a point now. It's like the NBA almost. It's like, oh, the NFL has a salary cap. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like a soft cap. Like the NBA doesn't really have a salary cap. You can do whatever you want in the NBA. The NFL is getting to this point with these quarterbacks making 40, 45, $50 million a year. Like, when does it stop? Who's the next quarterback that's going to make 60 million a year? And then how are you going to, how's that going to trickle down to the rest of the roster? This is what, a 52-man roster when week 1 hits, man? Like, you got to pay Nick Bosa probably $30 to $32 million a year soon. What's going to happen in this roster when they do have to pay a quarterback?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that it was something being done with the cap next year. You're either going to put a cap on the limitation of quarterbacks or raise it or something like that. I believe I have to look more into it, but there is something being done about that.
It has to. That's smart, man. And thank you for pointing that out because I didn't know that. It's got to happen. I mean, what do you guys think? Maybe you talked about it. I didn't hear you talk about it, but where are you guys at in terms of these quarterbacks and the money they're getting paid?
Yeah,
I think
I'm sorry, Mike. It's a great question, and again, it's that Niners Lounge with Chris DiFrancesco, host of that Gold Rush podcast. Great question, Chris. I'm going to just kick it off and say, I think it organically needs to fix itself with new talent coming in, but that's just me. I'm going to pass it on to Mike because I know he's got great input on it as well.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely broken. It's getting to a point where your quarterback is taking up so much of your salary that you are not going to have a decent team under him. And I agree with the Daniel Jones that he was one of the breaking points, but I also want to take it back to the Deshaun Watson. That was a point where now owners are taking a stance saying, we can't do this. And that's where Lamar Jackson's kind of being the fodder of it. He's going to be the scapegoat and where people put their foot down. But it's got to be a point where the salary is more balanced, because once you got that more balanced team, you're going to have a franchise team. Paying a quarterback $50 million, you're not going to win a Super Bowl because you're not going to be able to pay other quality players. It's just a fact.
Yep. And look what happened. It happened in Seattle too.
Yeah.